Hey, today I'm going to be playing the Cold War mod as the Philippines, which is this chain of islands in the center of this Asian region. A little bit smaller than Japan, just south of Taiwan and east of Vietnam and west of Indonesia. Right now it's the Cold War mod, so it's a realistic map of the situation in 1949. As you can see, Japan is under the Allied occupation. There's MacArthur as its leader. Looks like North Korea's already been formed. Here's Kim Il-sung. China is not decidedly communist yet. People's Liberation Army, that's the communists, Mao Zedong. And let's not talk about the Republic. But you can see they have Taiwan, which is where they flee to when they do eventually lose to the communists. The Philippines has only recently been released from as an American colony and given its independence, which is what happened after World War II. The Philippines became the first Asian democracy, in theory. Let's see, these are the national focuses, which are national events that have an effect on the gameplay in some way. Like this has an endemic government corruption. The government's corrupt, so I don't get as much political power. Stability has a huge drop. Construction has a huge drop. It's slower, and production in general loses 20% of its cap, which is the max production rate. The economic crisis, so that's a huge gain to consumer goods. So I doubt they have any free factories to use. Non-optimal agricultural sector, so less stability, another construction speed and production efficiency cap drop, and a huge drop in factory output. All because the agricultural sector isn't optimized. Banana Republic. It's funny. I was talking to my Filipino friend earlier, and I said that the Philippines sounds like classic Banana Republic when she referred to how many bananas they export. It's a term coined by American writer William Sidney Porter. A bananic republic describes a politically volatile state with an economy that is dependent on the exportation of resource that is limited. Typically, a banana republic has a society of extremely stratified social classes. It means economic division and wealth inequality. Usually a large, impoverished working class and a ruling class. Plutocracy, a ruling class plutocracy, composed of the business, political, and military elites of that society. And that causes a resource gain, but an increase in consumer goods again, which is always the worst thing to happen in this game. A huge drop to construction speed. It's 40% so far. Another efficiency growth drop, and extra trade to overlord. That means if the United States trades to get any resources from the Philippines will give them 50% more than the baseline. But that doesn't really matter because I don't think that the Philippines has any resources. Oh, they have something in this game. This mod adds resources that the base game and most of the mods don't have. It looks like the Philippines is full of petrochemicals and electricity. And I'm guessing that's the only... No, they got nuclear material. Well, that's valuable, I guess. I mean, electricity and petrochemicals, I think you just build. It's not something that's really like a natural resource. It's just a resource. Oh, but you actually lose petrochemicals to electricity. But looks like we have plenty of nuclear resources, which I think are pretty rare in the world. We could build a nuclear plant if we had the technology and factories. Usually the first thing I want to do is try to build infrastructure up. I haven't played this Cold War mod yet, so I'm not sure about the differences. Like usually it'd be up to 10 upgrades to infrastructure, and now it's only 3 on these islands at least. Usually I want to upgrade the largest region, but Manila already fully upgraded as far as infrastructure, and I'm not even sure it gives a construction boost. Oh, it gives a little one, but that's not one you could ever. It's not 50 or 100%. That's 19% max. It's not worth it then. There's a lot of building slots in this mod too. I guess I need to look through what I can build. It looks like you need to be building up agricultural complexes and power plants. Well, before I do any of that, it'd be a good idea to look at what my resource situation is. Which would be... I have a slight surplus of petrochemicals, no light metals, but I'm not using them yet. My food balance is 0. Rare earth metals, yeah, we don't have any. The Philippines doesn't have any natural resources. Construction materials, other than the nuclear materials, which it seems to have an abundance of. Though the economy exports almost half of it. I'm sure if the US wants any, it's all going to go to them. And we have an abundance of electricity. Now, that won't last long. And the nuclear material is useless to us. It would be better off used trading to a foreign nation to get one of their factories. Now let's see what the technology situation is. I usually start off building up something in industry or computers. This mod adds 3 other tabs for weapons of mass destruction, the spacecraft structure and propulsion, and rocketry, because this time period goes through the space age. In most mods, the first thing I would do would be like go to industry and give the base technologies there. And it's not quite 1950, so these are all it's too early for those. This one's hard to tell if you can even research it. It's really grayed out. Oh, looks like I can. Oh, World War II construction seems like something I need. No, it only has 2 slots, so it's really a waste to do military research on a country that won't be a military power ever. But you can get away with some pretty... You can do well depending on the strategy. The AI is stupid. As long as you have guns and you can hold your own. And as far as defense on an island, I'm thinking I'll probably want to go down the path that leads to a change in government. It's not gonna be fun just playing as America's puppet, everything but name, ruled by a president that's really a dictator. So we'll go to the national focuses. National focuses are really important because they tell the story of the game, and they lead to huge changes in the world. Now, this is a pretty big tree developed. I chose this mod because I wanted to play as the Philippines, and it was the only one so far that actually had a tree specifically made for them. Now, it's always good to deal with economic crises first. Yeah, I'll get 2 industrial parks. I guess those are factories, but it's some other industrial parks. Gain a national spirit that grants. I get to keep 10% more of my resources. I like to go down and see what it's going to lead to. Japanese reparations. The Japanese give us 2 industrial parks. That doesn't seem like very great reparations. Long-term Japanese industrial loans. That gives you 4. Usually really the first thing I'd want is to get a research slot unlocked if they have one. This mod doesn't have the easy search where you click buttons related to things, but I can still type in something like slot, and there's 11. A lot of them will be building slots, but let's see. There should be a research slot, I'm hoping. Industrial park, power plants, industrial park, building slot. There's only one left. Oh, here it is. We found it. Encourage innovation. That's pretty far down. See, and we can only get it once we start the election in 1957. So there's no point in worrying about that research slot. As you can see, that's pretty far down. What are the political things we can do then? The Quirino administration sounds like a Spanish name. Of course, the Philippines was a Spanish colony for, I think, centuries. Until they lost possession to America during the war. That's when America started its Pacific ambitions. Elections of 1949. Yeah, usually if there's an election year, yeah, that's the one you want to go to first. Because it's already in May. Now, it doesn't look like they've paid much attention to the Philippines tree, so it doesn't have much love. There's no description. The first freaking national focus. This mod's interesting because it adds a few of the things that TNO also has that countries would worry about, like welfare spending, education. Now, it starts at the very bottom, which is probably pretty accurate. It's also good to look at the political situation, which looks pretty split. There's only 2 important parties. There's the NP, which is progressive and led by Carino, and there's the Conservative Party led by Apolionaro Rizal. So right now the Philippines is led by the Progressive Party. How progressive they were in reality, I don't know. Progressivism is the support for or advocacy I'd like to point out that the current state of the Philippines is definitely not led by progressives. I don't know much about his administration, but it probably involved plenty of negative press let's say. Now, the resource consumption and the food consumption. Okay, the food consumption looks horrible. That's something that's not in the regular games or mods, so I'll have to learn about that. But a negative balance of food cannot be a good thing, especially such a large number. This is the balance coming from the capital. Yeah, some of these mods have this little extra tab they added in. Oh, that's accurate. Tagalog, Tagalog. I've been trying to learn how to pronounce these words from the Philippines better, but I probably shouldn't even try. Be too offensive. Now, it's saying in 1949 in Manila, which is the largest city in the Philippines, was pretty large for 1949. 3 million people. Got a message. Oh, that's a guy that's always messages me when I'm on Hearts of Iron. His name's Josh. He's known in the Hearts of Iron chat rooms and forums for being really bad at this game. So now I ended up adding him because I thought it was funny, but playing with him was pretty boring. All he cares about is playing as America and starting in the later start date so that he can use the nukes, which he demands that I use a mod that makes them more powerful. This looks like Catholics dominated. Protestants were there too, but the traditionals were only 2% in their capital. Now I've been learning a lot about the central islands of the Visayan peoples. Here's Cebu Island, and this is Negros. They're saying the Cebu Islands. I think that's the Visayans in the Visayan Sea. But this doesn't go down far in detail. It talks about large areas. 3 million, but same as Manila, but Manila was just this. That's all that. But that's only 800,000. This region has the most, but it's the largest region. Or second largest, maybe. 2 million. I mean, this has the most for sure. And you can go look at the population stats today. This is new to me. Upgrade state. Ooh, it already works? I wonder what that means. I hope I can afford it. I don't know what it means. Pre-industrial. The development here on Palawan. A lot of the words they have in the Philippines are pretty cool. They look like something out of sci-fi or fantasy novels, but they're not pronounced the way that we would say them in English, so. Pre-industrial level development, that means 1850 BC. Is that right? 1850 back until the BC, I'm sure. So up until 1850. Point is, it needs to industrialize. Agrobiome. Oh, this mod goes into things like when you can grow crops. This is temperate, but this is year-round. Industrialized. Well, it's not going to get any more than it is here. Developed. Develops what it should be around this time in a fair society. Fairer. Now it looks like I have 2 factories free to build things with. That's nothing. That's so nothing. Whoa, infrastructure costs a lot more than I thought it did. Oh, there's 2 kinds in this. 3 kinds if you count water. But 10,000, that's 2 factories. Do not create 2,000 construction points anytime soon. I want to be realistic about what I can build without waiting 5 years. Though I think this mod's meant for the long term. It starts in 1949 and it goes through the 60s at least. It's many, many hours in this game. Fortresses, probably we don't have to wait very long. Naval bases. Now, naval bases can be useful if they work the same way they do in most mods in vanilla, which is they can bring supply to the area, and it looks like it does increase supply. Now, that only matters if I find myself in like a socialist civil war. Maybe the socialists start out here in the south, and if I have a naval base that has a lot that's built up highly, it'll bring a lot more supply in, so I can fit more divisions of troops. Or vice versa, if I'm playing the rebels and I'm down here, they're gonna already have the highest development of naval dock or whatever, naval base, naval dock, and the more supply, the more troops you can fit. Here, this the supply areas. See, this area supports 26, which isn't even a lot for this game. This is the most developed area, but you can see that if you were an enemy coming here, it would look a lot different because all your supplies would be going through a port. If you didn't have a port, you'd just not have supplies and you'd slowly die if you're being attacked. I need to go over the military situation too. Now I bet they don't have much of a military, and they probably have less of a navy for an island nation. They probably have a really small navy. Looks like I have 4 infantry divisions, which are decent. These are about what you'd call the standard in most mods, except the combat was a little bit higher. Usually there'd be 1 less infantry, but this is more pleasing to the eye. 2 artillery, 8 infantry. And they got all these support companies: anti-tank, anti-air, artillery, engineer, and recon. These are really good unit builds. If they were being attacked from the ocean, they could handle themselves for a very long time. They're fortified. On land, they can do a good job, but there's only 4 of them. It'd probably be best to use them as guards for the ports, because like I was saying, usually if you're going to naval invade, you want to naval invade a port. But I'm really overthinking it. I should just be running the time because it's the Cold War in 1949. Unless I do something to change history, I don't think the Philippines will have any external external threat. It's all going to be internal. So I'm going to make it's called an army in this game, and then this would be making an army group. So this is where you would assign a field commander, which apparently I don't have generals or field marshals, sorry. So this is my first general. Now he's going to be promoted to be a field marshal, but I don't have enough command points unless I cheat. Try not to cheat. When you have to make your own commanders, they're randomized, but they're all going to be 1 stat and suck. Only a few have good traits. I don't think that, like I said, the Philippines hasn't had much love. I was lucky to find a mod that had a tree for it at all, because without a focus tree, there's nothing to play. Because I'd just be sitting here as the Philippines. Hopefully I could turn myself into like fascists or communists so I could go to war with like Indonesia by making a false war declaration, false reason, like Japan did when it attacked China. They set up a false flag operation where they set off dynamite on a railroad.
But really, in reality, the dynamite didn't damage the railroad enough to even stop the train that passed right after. The train passed fine, but Japan still used it as a reason because it was their railroad. They own the rights to it, and they blamed the Chinese and used it as an excuse to attack Nanjing, Beijing, or what's today Peking. Now I'm going to set these people to guard, but they're only going to guard naval bases. This is probably still too many to cover the entire island. Yeah, there's 3 on this island alone. Gotta protect Cebu. And then we'll also add one to this island. There's no naval bases here. If they land here in this island chain, if anyone landed here or got stuck here, it's a death trap. The only way to get supply is from these little victory points and docks, and you can do airdrops, but anyone that lands there is not going to have airdrops. Where would they come from anyway? Well, long-range planes exist now in this, but it would have to be somewhere close. Now I need to start building my weapons. I only have 2. Okay, I can't even supply the units I have. Just with them I need all of this equipment, you see. I need to be building every one of these to actually replace what's lost. Like infantry equipment, the guns and the infantry stuff, it's the obvious first choice. I usually need to have like 3 or 4 factories of those. Have a good rate coming in. Probably support. Otherwise I'd do artillery, but this is actually separated artillery. Or I guess one's AA, one's an AT. I don't think AT guns will be used much more. It's all about rockets, baby. So if I build one of those, I could get their stats back for sure. But with support equipment, I can make sure that at least the engineers and recon companies are getting resupplied. Oh, I didn't even think about how they had cannons. That's what I need to be making. They do have artillery in the division, so that's what I need to make. There's a weapons of mass destruction tab. Right now only the United States is on it. Americans must have felt so badass. Launch a limited nuclear strike against the nation's capital and tactical installations in the capital state. Oh, it's not working for the Philippines, damn. Okay. I'm not recruiting, production, I'm gonna make infantry equipment. I wish I could make some of the cool stuff. It takes a while for the production to build up, and it's capped by all those malices anyway. But I'd really like to be able to make some tanks. Some air jets, man. Oh well. Gotta start somewhere. And they have one dark yard. Now, usually if it's probably better to focus on convoys. You can always use convoys if you actually end up at war. You're going to need them if you import resources or transport troops. Transport, thinking maybe if you transport supplies too. But I'm not seeing anything else to build anyway. Here we go. But those aren't finished. I'd have to have XP. Oh, it does give you some Navy experience and Army experience for some reason. Yeah, because I didn't cheat that in, or else there'd be 50 air experience. Well, it gives you that for a reason. That's to change divisions, setups, and this is to add a ship or something too. Adding a ship with the expansion is pretty easy. First I want to see what technology I have is the best. Looks like medium sub. Or that might be old. And World War II might be higher, so I should look at research. Ship modules. No, into ship hulls. And I can see that small sub hulls here, mediums there. 3 years. Though that's not a big difference. And the smaller sub isn't necessarily a better sub. But for a small nation like the Philippines, it can be cost effective. Destroyer 1's unlocked. So a Cruiser 1. Okay, so it's, when it says World War II era, that's old, I don't want to use that, but I do have plenty of modern ships. Looks like I could build a battle cruiser and a carrier too, but that would take forever with one. I don't think that would finish. Oh, I didn't even check to see if they have a navy. Oh, nope, they don't. They have no ships. Do they have any convoys? Okay, let's see the number of convoys. Might really need to be making them. 200? 200's a lot of convoys. I won't need any for a while. Okay, so since I only have one dockyard, I should be making something small, which would be small submarine, medium submarine, and destroyer at most. It's all mixed up. Usually submarines here, and it gets bigger progressively. Oh, there's frigates in this. Frigates would be smaller than destroyers. When you have nothing, it's probably better to go with subs. Anything else is going to be found. But without a patrol squad of a couple destroyers or 3 and maybe 1 cruiser to search and find ships, fleets, the subs won't do very well. So I'll probably start with that. The basics of the Navy will be some frigates. If I can get good surface detection and a good speed. Because it might be a lot lower than the destroyers. Yeah, this is 25, 14, and 25 for the 2200 kilometer range. The range matters too. So this detects 20. Has slower visibility and it's faster, but the base stats, I mean 5 detection is actually a lot. And it has sonar power is 5 on this one. The destroyer is 15. That's a huge difference for finding subs. So we're gonna build a destroyer. Now this is where you pick the names. It's not important, but historical destroyers. I'm surprised they even have name lists for ships from the Philippines, but they do. It's definitely historical. The Negros Occidental, that's definitely a Filipino name. I don't know what the class was historically. A lot of times it's one of these names on here. I'm gonna call it the Negros class. It just means black in Spanish. Now you gotta add the engine. You always want to go with the highest number. World War II is the lowest you can go. Some of these parts I might not have yet. I only have small torpedoes. Oh, 3 damage is nothing for a torpedo. My first module, I usually put... Well, I usually put sonar, but sometimes the ones at the top and the bottom, they're locked to certain parts. Certain modules that you can put there. Say like that one just only allows AA, surface to air missile, and anti-submarine warfare. Well, this one also allows mid-range surface to air missiles and light armament. It's going to be guns. And this is just countermeasures. Now that's not in other mods, so this is where you add the smoke screen. In other games you can research smoke screen, but it's just a passive skill added to everything. Now there needs to be a main battery, but this is just a patrol ship. I really want this destroyer to be cost as little as possible and to be as fast as possible, to not be burned by any equipment. So it's already 1430, which is more than I want it to be. And I haven't finished building it. It's hard for me to go and do something like build this instead of this. But this is 120, this is 240, this is 180, maybe I'll make a compromise. Like I said, this is meant for war. But it's only 60. I'll go back if I need to. I only have World War II automatic cannons. I usually like putting anti-submarine stuff in the back. That's a huge increase. But I mean, these are going to be set to not attack, but I want to make more than one. But I don't want to make multiple classes. Whatever. I'll make the best design I can first. I would put 2 anti-submarine missiles, but that would cost too much. Yeah, I got light armament too. Well, I don't know why it doesn't say 2. Oh, because the first one doesn't have a number. This would actually be less piercing. It adds effectiveness and defeating an acronym that I don't know yet. Okay, I haven't even put the equipment in yet. Let's see the mouse, double clicks. Okay, detection, modules. Okay, they both fit the same stuff. Now, this has a huge sonar power. So that does mean I don't need a powerful one, but it also means adding another sonar would be great. But this is mostly meant for surface detection, because I'm going to use this to detect the fleets that I want, the convoy fleets hopefully, that I want the submarines to attack. So I'll use this to add radar. It adds 25% to the surface detection, but it also makes it cost 1 more light metal, which I don't have. Trading for 1, like I think you trade 8 at a time in every other mod. This might be a little bit different, but sometimes you want to add more to use more, because you have to buy it in chunks of 8. And this I'll add, well, fire control radar does have a big difference on anti-air, but it would only mean 1 point for me. Sonar will add 4 sonar power and cost another light metal. That's a hard choice. Oh, this one will cost another. No wait, no, that's that will cost another light metal too. It's 300.
400. Well, I'll go with the sonar. Now, if I follow my own advice, I took most of this stuff off for my patrol ship, but because it's gotten to 3,000, it should be half that. It's really hard for me to make bad ships, though. Oh well, maybe it's built. They build it faster in this to make up for it, because usually it would cost this much. Mods, I don't. You never know. Let's save that design, and I'll build a cheaper one after it if I need to. You can see there's no resources for it, but in this game that just means reduced speed. Doesn't mean it won't be built, and it might not even be that big a reduction. Like Banana Republic is minus 20%. The lack of resources is minus 5% on this one. Cool, they got a little rainbow right there. Okay. I need to finish the research. I need to choose something. Probably go with something industrial. But that's the one I already have and looking into. But I should also be looking at this one. I need to focus on the economy as much as possible. And now that I'm about to actually start the clock on this game, let's set it to 5 and just zoom through it. Now there's still 144,000 with 40,000 in the field. That means each of those divisions with about 10,000 men. So each of these would be about 10,000 men. I have enough to make a unit, but I don't have enough equipment for them. Unless I have something stored, which I don't. So don't worry about that. Now the decisions. Oh, these. I forgot that I have read the tutorial on this. It's just this. Okay, decisions matter because they're also tell part of the story, and they give you lots of bonuses or lots of things happen through them, like preserving our national sovereignty, and combating American influence. It takes 200 political power. Wow. Economic decisions. This mod relies on the GDP model for the economy, which is a modded thing. And my growth rate is 0, which the growth rate is the only thing that matters in a GDP. So I actually need to use this panel to take out a loan from the IMF. If I take this loan, not just free money, and they accept me to pay 25 billion plus 1.5% annual interest back in 5 years, I don't think the Philippines can afford that. And they'll attempt to impose policy controls given influence. Why don't the United States want to give me money? Why doesn't... they don't have a good opinion of me. It's not even 26 out of 100. Fucking Yankees. Actually, 20 is probably pretty normal for starting out, not influencing it. The Philippines, like the United States, a little bit less. Different ideology, and because the United States generated war tension. That explains the 4. It's not, see, our government is progressive. Our ideology is progressive. The current one in office in the U.S. is social democratic. because the war ended 4 years ago, but then Truman took over for Roosevelt in 45, and I guess he won the term after that. Okay, I think everything's almost ready. I do need to be building something. I think food was pretty important. 10,000 is a lot, but it won't start chipping away until I start it. Provides the state with food, increased output with fertile biomes, requires at least one water infrastructure. The base output, depending on the state, is... So it looks like year-round is the best. It looks like I get a +1 bonus. Temperate also is good. And I noticed that that is the climate here. Here's year-round on this island. I think year-round on most of the islands. Yeah. So it's definitely a great place to grow food. Yep, year-round everywhere but the island far off. And then, even then it's still temperate, which is the second best option. So hopefully I can get that negative food balance fixed real quick. Because if there are biomes that, they should not be starving. But they were just ruled by the Japanese. Now I want to see if any place has water infrastructure already built. Because, like it said, requires at least one water infrastructure to produce full output. So I either need, it looks like there isn't any water infrastructure, so it might be better to build that over an existing agro complex. It looks like they cost the same. Anyway, yeah. Okay, agro complexes. Looks like there's a whole bunch. Looks like there's 5 here. No, I'm wrong. There's 2 industrial parks, 2 power plants. I'll try to find one. If they don't have one, that explains why the negative food thing. 0 buildings. 2 buildings. Nah. Okay, they don't have one. Well, Manila has good. I'm gonna build the agri-industrial complex first, because then I'll get at least some output. Then I can build the water infrastructure. It's gonna go slow anyway. I mean, this is gonna take until October 2nd of 1952, which is 3 years almost. Oh no, it's over 3 years. Okay, let's look at finish up these decisions. We got to the black market, or sorry, arms contracts. It's not the black market. Is there a country? I don't have money anyway. Oh no, I have money, but I have a spirit. No, I don't have that spirit. Okay, it is that I don't have money. And they don't like me. Because I haven't negotiated yet. I should probably do that. I only have 2 military factories. I would like to buy... Do I want independent Filipino weapons, or do I want Western private contractors? I think I'll go with Western. Oh, I don't even have the political power to start negotiations. Of course it takes that. Now, I haven't seen religion decisions before, but it looks like I can invite Arabics and Protestants and Catholics. Now, this is an interesting thing for the Philippines, considering how diverse its religion is for it in a small area. Okay, what if it's all Catholic? I'll slowly get free investments into industrialization and development funds. The longer this is active, the more expensive late game development will become. Made to stabilize the nation if Catholicism is not the predominant religion. Random monthly chance of a free missing technology if missing any other prerequisite checks for upgrading states to either industrialized or developed status. Well, that's good, because I need to industrialize. Will slowly increase Christian democratic support. Well, these are missions that stay active. And every own state will start a Catholic mission. Or the same for Protestantism, except instead of the Vatican state influence growing, the United States influence would grow. Yeah. There were, of course, lots of Catholics in the United States by now. But I guess, yeah, by this point, there was still never a Catholic president. JFK was the first Catholic president, and him being Catholic was the reason a lot of people thought he wouldn't win, including himself. But this does the same thing about growth, except 10% building speed bonus instead of political power bonus. It might be good to get some Protestants here then. Probably not going to be helpful to get Sunnis or Shias. I can get financial support from the Arab Gulf. The other ones didn't say anything about financial support. Oh, they invest in my industry and development. These ones. The Arabs don't. Or I guess the Muslims, I mean. This will increase my volunteer limit, but I don't plan to use that. Volunteers are divisions you send to help other nations in war without going to war with their enemy. I think I need to increase the Protestants to get me that sweet development bonus and increase the America's opinion of me so that they either give me money or give the Philippines independence. I don't know why most of my foreign power production comes from the space race. I don't know what that means. Oh, it means that's how they keep the United States influencing the country so highly. Okay, my financial reserves are negative 84 billion, but I have zero debt. It's green. Maybe I have 84 billion. I don't know why it says negative. Military expenditure. Oh, my GDP is climbing at the tiniest little rate. My infamy is 9. I don't even know what infamy means in this. Oh, it looks like my interface is messed up. Probably another mod. Alright. I turn off all these alerts so I actually know when a new decision comes up that I want to do, that I want to use. That's all that's left is invite Protestant missionaries and one thing about changing the rate. Oh, and all this auto queue stuff. That doesn't actually build anything, it just queues it up to be built. I do want to invite them, the Protestants, because of the influence of the United States and the help to my industrialization and development and the building speed bonus, but I don't want to leave it on very long because it says it'll take longer to industrialize. So I could develop that other nation, this island, because I met the tech requirement. Oh yeah, because it was pre-industrial. Okay. I thought this island wasn't industrialized. But this little one. Is that even mine? Yeah. Scarborough Shoal. I wonder how it got an English name. Probably English people stayed here. Colonized it. But it looks like it has a claim. Oh god, the Republic of China and Communist China consider this a core state. Of course, that's bad because if it's a core state, they can go to war with me over it at any time. Anytime they want, they can just declare war on me for that little island. I don't really see why that should be Chinese claim, but it makes sense because they always want to gain any island they can. Like Taiwan, they consider Chinese territory, but that's a big dispute. But Taiwan's one thing, but this Scarborough Shoal? Come on. Monthly financial pulse. Then you turn off one more event. Notification. Where is it? Oh god. Getting to the insurgency decisions is always pretty bad. Usually you have to station troops at some place or have some kind of military weapon in. Then you do one of these events to kill some of the insurgents. During World War II, socialist and communist activists formed a peasant guerrilla army called the... I'm gonna guess this is gonna sound so wrong. Hukbalahap. Or Hooks. It's probably Hooks, not Huck. It's not Hucks. To battle occupying Japanese forces. So socialists and communists formed a guerrilla army to battle the occupying Japanese while Americans started island hopping. Despite raising many fighters and playing a role in the liberation, the Philippine government has actively sought to forcibly disarm the Hooks. Obviously an American decision, you know, because these are socialist communist rebels in their own country. The Philippine government has actively sought to forcibly disarm the Hooks, arrest its members, and refuses to accept their elected candidates to the government. Citing the continued refusal of the government to end its crackdown or just the concerns of the peasants, the Hook squadrons have reactivated to wage a guerrilla revolutionary war against the government. So basically they're fighting for their freedom to be communists and socialists. So they weren't even allowed to be represented in the first Asian democracy, the Philippines. The first one I'll be able to do is bomb the Hooks. 75% of a successful bombing. Oh, these are background tests. Okay. What could possibly still be monthly financial pulse? Oh, I can't get rid of it that way. I have to right click. I cannot afford resources without not being able to build. Though I have 2 factories, so I could get both. I think it's finally time to start after I invite the Protestants. Come, Protestantism. Give me development. I'm pretty sure it'll be okay. I mean, the Catholics dominated here, but there were Protestants. Maybe I should look into it. Okay. Here's the religious sticker. Now this should change ethnicity here. Yeah. Bisayan. Saiyans. Dragon Ball. No, they're mostly Catholics, 90%, so pretty big majority. Yeah, here's all Catholics, and it looks like Islam exists in the south. Protestants only 5%, the same as traditional. Catholics, a little bit more Protestants this time. Well, it might destabilize the government, but you know, I might not mind this government being destabilized. You know what I mean? I might not want the people to like this government, because you know, as long as I'm playing this country, as long as this country isn't taken over by like China, and it's ruled by Filipinos, I'll be able to still play it. Okay, I'm gonna save because I'm starting for the first time. And we're gonna begin at the fastest speed. And wait, I just found out that I want to change how this looks. It looks like I didn't add the mod that adds symbols. So yeah, I got the messed up ones. Great. I'll have to change that. Oh, one last thing. Airplanes. I have 62 fighters. Well, I don't really want to even risk training them because they might crash. That's not very many. Sea level 1, if you don't train them, they get negatives. Actually, since it's an uneven number, training might not be so bad, as long as I have enough fuel. I mean, it doesn't look, I mean, I have some, which isn't so bad. I didn't know there was any in the Philippines. I know there's some in, you know, the Indies, the East Indies, because that's why they were colonized. Well, that's why the Japanese invaded them. China doesn't really have that many resources. Like, they don't have any oil. They don't have much iron. They just have people like the Philippines. Am I a member of the United Nations? I mean, I think I am, but I'm definitely not a leader of it. I'm on a Security Council member. I guess I'll see if there's a mechanic that starts that. Those units are moving to guard ports the best way it thinks it can. Instead of putting 3 on the northern island, it separated it. That's what I was hoping it would do. I'll need more to guard it, but think I'm fine. I doubt there'll be any kind of fighting for a while. 1984 get released. In the 1950s, the United Kingdom becomes involved in a Third World War, this time involving nuclear weapons like used over Japan. Britain falls to civil war with the authoritarian English Socialist Party, or INGSOC, emerging victorious. In the authoritarian state, thoughts are policed, history is revised, and a cult of personality to the mustachioed Big Brother reigns supreme. Sounds rather familiar. I didn't think it would take this long to even start, but I wanted to explain everything. Hopefully there's some flavor to the Philippines. They don't just leave it blank and bare. I have only 20 days to do something about the insurgency before it grows. Now, who's to say I want to stop the insurgency? I could bomb them right now. Likely I would be okay. It says I need 10 close support aircraft deployed, but all I have is normal fighters. I guess they have a close support. Yeah, they can be used. In the base game, fighters can never be used for close support, but by this point they could be. I mean, they had rockets and things. I don't know, I think I'm gonna let the insurgency grow. You know, since I don't want to waste a bunch of time anyway, I mean, why not see what happens if it gets to 100% for Hookabala Hop. Hookabala Hop. Hookabala Hop. I don't have anyone to tell me the right way to say it right now. Okay, rough up the opposition and ward off impeachment efforts. Maybe I don't want to do this one, because then my choices are either a Canaro Victory, who is the reformist, which would be the leftist supported by America, but the other would just be more conservative. He would want to crack down on communism, rehabilitate the republic by what? Increasing the war's support, gain opinion of the Allied occupation of Japan and MacArthur. Aiding rural farmers is always good, but promote Pan-Asianism, so I gain the national spirit, ideological fanaticism, so I can increase division, create a faction, which creating a faction is always useful, but no one's gonna join one with the Philippines. Hey, we're the Philippines, we have 4 divisions, you wanna join us? That one has no effects. Philippines first movement. Lowers my opinion with the United States. Military expansion. Increase ties to Indonesia. Censor the leftist press. Basically, this is all things, none of these things is anything I would want to actually do in real life. This guy was already in charge for one thing. He'll get some military factories immediately too. And then he must have merged the banks. I bet he won in real life. If it has something that merged the central bank, he probably actually did inaugurate the central bank. That'll help a little bit. I wish there were descriptions. Obviously the title gives away this happened and there's more to it. The Philippine Expeditionary Force. That's a force that can be sent as volunteers. It increases the limit by 5. Wow. Wow, that actually would be a huge thing for volunteering troops. But volunteering would just mean fighting a war for somebody else for free. All I get out of it would be experience. And I could influence that area of the world, but as the Philippines, I don't see any gain. I wonder why they did that. Expand corn and rice production. Well, that could help, but it's really just a one bonus for research. Limited land. And what does it end with? I'll tell you that it ends with a much nicer little icon than the other tree. Ensure American military access. So we give it to them. I think they already have it though. Like, it said my opinion was higher because of military access. And I assume maybe it's they gave it to me, but that wouldn't make sense. Yeah. No, I don't have it. No, I do. They have access to me. So why would I want to give it to them in the tree? So it's definitely not finished. It's buggy, is what I'm getting at. Now usually, you can unlock a tree. Like I want to know what the communist tree is. If there's one. And it might not, it can be that it doesn't show until you're under the rule of one of them. Sometimes it pops up in the empty spaces. So I think letting that insurgency grow is the way to get there. Dealing with this economic crisis is a good place to go next. Looks like the People's Liberation Army, which is the communists, just got into Shanghai, which at the time is the largest and most economically powerful city in China. I think it's over here. Yeah. I mean, they definitely had it for a little while. Hollywood 10 begin their prison sentence. Those are the 10 people in the movie business that were sent to prison because they were openly socialists and communists. Man, the Republicans are just, they got trapped. See how the AI even is smart enough to go for the dock. They still have one, but their troops must suck. I wonder if I can send a military attaché. I can send volunteers. Even now I can still send one. Like I said, those volunteers, they use my... So, oh, I can send it. But they would reject it even if I had the points to send it. I like sending attachés because you get experience without having to actually use your equipment. You have to improve it quite a bit. The help is welcome, but they don't want me, really. Liars. I don't think there's any other war going on right now. There's something going on in Greece. It's a battle with Greece. Greece against the Greece Democratic Party. The Greek communists are about to lose. Looks like Russia, the USSR, didn't help them. Now I could send volunteers to help them, but it's a little late, I think. I mean, it's mountainous. They'll probably hold it for longer than you think, but like, let's watch. We can't see the units, but we can see that there's a fight going on. Modify government? No, I want to modify research. What was that then? I thought it was technology. I don't know what it is. It was an event, I guess. I guess in that video it'll show what it was. What I want is to go to... Oh, you can't.
Can I go to this one? Yep. Oh, I can even go to this one. This starts to slow construct. This makes the civilian stuff slower to build. Okay, so in this game, it won't give me less consumer goods factories, which is what I thought it was going to do, because that would give me factories immediately. This actually just changes the bonuses it gives you from civilian to military. And right now I need civilian, so it's useless. I don't even have nuclear weapons, but limited exports. If I had more exports, that might be helpful. UN member? Oh, that's good. I thought I was just a semi-recognized state. Now I'm a UN member. Maybe that's what the message was about. It was this changing. Because you can't change this one manually, but it said I was semi-recognized at the beginning. Guess I'll just get a technology boost. Or spin it on something here. With 200 I could combat American influence. Makes it more difficult for nations to influence us and preserves our independence. Well, this combats American influence alone. Well, considering that Americans are the influence over me, I think I'll wait for 200. Let's see how long these communists hold out. Just 1 day, 2 days, 2 days. Oh, we lost the port. This one still is getting supplied through the capital. And they're gone. And you see that the Kingdom of Greece won. Kingdom being the one the Allies wanted to win, and the one that won in real life. The Greek Democratic Army being the socialists or communists, and it says Democratic Army, so I doubt they're Stalinists. Which, you know, look how big Russia is, Jesus Christ. And China is pretty big, but I bet they won't take much longer to win. There aren't really that many victory points. As long as they get these, I bet they capitulate. Plus, once they lose access to the ocean, they're usually screwed. Radio Free Europe. Radio Free Europe station will broadcast across Europe and across the Iron Curtain to battle communist propaganda. The CIA controlled it. It's recruited many prominent anti-communists. And it's at the time that it's planning, or collaborating with Nazi generals that committed war crimes, just to get them back in charge of the West German army. People's Republic of China established before administrating the U.S., the Soviet Union. So the USSR recognized the new Chinese government, while the US is not. Well, that makes sense considering one side was backed by the US and the other the USSR. But the USSR, I think, stopped once Mao changed his ideal of the communism. Mongolia has a complicated relationship and unstable history since the fall of the Mongol Empire. The Soviet Union wants the Mongols to be an independent communist state. could give Mongolia its status as a universally recognized power back for the first time since the 14th century. Siam to Thailand. Thailand changes national name once more. So a nationalist took power, or that's the old. Thailand is a nation of many ethnicities and culture, and he wanted to modernize Thailand. He just wants them to all think of themselves as the same culture, Thai. And he desired a campaign of westernization, encompassing Western-style clothing, new national anthem and flag, and a Western calendar. The music's pretty much that kind of stuff made for, requested to be made by governments. So right now it's been playing Chinese stuff. They didn't have a Filipino radio. That's cool. I mean, these are real events. Finally, I get that one. Adol Hossein Hazir found dead. Royal Minister, probably to Turkey. No, Iranian. His assassin Syed Hossein Nami Esfahani was found to be part of an organization, Fadiyan-e-Islam. Stop. Gotta pick another one. Okay, I think American Aid would be best. Give me 2 industrial parks right away. Almost at 200 too. Oh, you can change. This is how. So they do have all of the options. Just to click to see the difference. Monthly income breakdown. Okay, industry's giving me all my income really. No, taxes. Tax gets me the most. There's a little bit from the dockyard. Good chunk is the industry, and then resource export is half that. Now expenditures is, well, basically nothing. I'm not helping people out with education and public health, that's for sure. Military is 1.2, which is made up for from resource export and industry alone, making tax pure profit really. So that's a huge profit. The Federal Republic of Germany established the Pleven Plan, a military cooperation between European countries to share knowledge and experience. I guess their pressure was put on the Germans to share their technology with other countries in Europe. And slowly the China we know today is being formed by war. Probably a pretty accurate representation of how the battle line moved. Stops along the mountains here. I mean, the mountains are where the Communist Party held out for years. I mean, they should have been defeated. The mountains protected them. Here, nothing. Currency devaluation. Well, it probably does need to be devaluated. And now I have 200, I can try to protect my country from American influence. That Protestant influence isn't helping any. I wonder where it shows me what's happening because of that. Or if it does. I think it would tell me here. starting at the very beginning with industry technology. Now the Soviets have done their first nuclear tests. That's plutonium bomb. It resembles the American Fat Man bomb dropped in Nagasaki because it was built from stolen plans from it, I'm sure. The Soviets were given a huge lead by their spy. One was known, this old lady, and it was finally found out in Britain. Like, only in the 21st century it was discovered that she was the spy that gave them a lot of their technology from the British to work on the bomb. Okay, now's the time I think I can go into electronics. You know, 440 days is a lot, even if, and it's old technology. That's where you start getting the research bonuses, which are important when you only have 2 slots. But I don't want to wait that many days. It's too early for these. Plenty of planes to research. Like, I'm not even close to being down the fighter or the close air support chain. Probably should, multi-rolls are always good to have. If you don't have much industry, you only have to build one of them. But I need to have magnetic writing and early memory. Where's that? Usually it shows you if you click. Magnetic writing. Here it is. It's not like a technology thing. So take that long. 440 days plus 110 and 330 and 110. That's a lot. But this does unlock more weapon types apparently. It's a core component to magnetic core memory. Well, screw multi-role fighters. Let's do light jets. It's good to find one with a gap in it like that, because I mean, this is probably a good one to research. Now, I want to look at infantry stuff to see if I even have the latest equipment. Okay, I'm close to needing to research that, but it's still early. Oh, but I'd have to research this first, and it would take more than enough time. Okay. Building infantry equipment, so I might as well build the latest. Communist scare in America. It's the Allied occupation of Japan. There's MacArthur in charge. I wonder if my leader in the Philippines has a bio. No, they haven't given Carino a bio. The Philippines finishes its elections. Now remember, I decided not to go down that path, so I missed these crappy national focuses, but that's just happened anyway. I had no control over that. And then you just choose which side won. And I already went through how I'd prefer the reformists stay in power. And I'm still going down the path for that one. If my monthly balance is plus 5 billion, I should have several billion saved up by now, right?
where's all that money? The Deutsche Demokratische Republik, otherwise known as East Germany, was founded. Before this point, it was just Soviet-occupied area, or Soviet-occupied Germany. Now it's German Soviet Socialist Republic. True to real history. But thousands flee to West Germany every month. It's more of a satellite state because it does have a lot more freedom than any of these other states had. Like the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic, I remember they have a riot at some point where the Soviets sent tanks in. I think that's the last time that tanks really made a difference. It was the time they discovered that tanks can't really stop rioting, because the Czechs started using Molotov cocktails and things like that. Like, tanks are intimidating until you realize in an urban zone the streets are short, so they can't, like, you think they could just run over people, but just as easily when they stop, people can get on them and throw shit in them and stuff like that. They weren't designed at that point for urban warfare. Soviets suspend claims to this Turkish Straits. Okay. That's this place, which is the only access the Soviet Union had from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. That little region, they wanted it so badly. Because up here it's cold. Before this time period, their best port was St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg became Leningrad after the revolution. Today, it is again St. Petersburg. I want to find out where my money's going. Oh look, I should pause it. There's an agricultural modernization. As long as I'm not the People's Democratic Republic of Malaya? What? Is that an option? Yeah, I thought Malaya is pretty far from the Philippines. I'm sure the people are related somehow, but... Looks like they're split between communist and reactionaries. Oh, and the third position, which is really an ultra-nationalist movement. Devotion to the state, uniting the people under a strong leader. It's Nazism in a world that didn't want to use the term. That's what that guy that united Thailand's name. So Thailand was an ultra-nationalist state at this time. I didn't know that. Or maybe this is an alternate reality scenario. Well, Burma was socialist. I remember a lot of the Vietnam communists hid in Burma, and that's where they, in Laos. By this time, the Democratic Republic of Vietnam is already formed. Sucks to be in that enclave. There it is, the state of Vietnam. Monarchist. Cambodia, monarchist. Kingdom of Laos, I bet it's monarchist, yep. Looks like the French haven't given up yet. The Christian Democratic Party. So if you look at this map, look, here's a Vietnam, here's a Vietnam, here's the other Vietnam, but here's that other Vietnam, but here's another Vietnam that's French. Oh, but here's that other Vietnam. Here's the French again. And by the way, here's the China that's being destroyed between the execution of Gandhi's assassin, establishment of the Korean Workers' Party was announced following the merger of the Workers' Party of North Korea, while the Workers' Party of Korean Affairs was officially announced following the merger of the Workers' Party of North Korea with the Workers' Party of South Korea. So in both countries, or the parties merged from both countries. This latest act continues the consolidation of communist leadership around Kim Il-sung. This comes after the recent Party Congress declared North Korea a bastion of democracy and approved a constitution establishing an independent, united Korea with Seoul as the capital. With one party, it appears North Korea is finalizing its efforts to lay the groundwork for unification of the Korean peninsula under communist rule. An Asian people's democracy? People don't understand that you can be communist and be democratic. They think all communism comes from what we know it as from the USSR, when the one party, one ruler thing. It doesn't have to be that way. Lenin only had a few years to rule. Trotsky, for whatever reason, left, well, was exiled, but he never tried to take power. But as a Jewish man, I doubt he could. Now they keep getting recognized by other nations, I guess. Finished evaluation. I'm gonna do this one where we get 2 military manufacturers. Now, let's go back to the agricultural modernization. They'll remove that non-optimal agricultural sector spirit and give me level 4. Oh, this is start. Now, I need to spend some of that money. Okay, here's my economic balance. It looks like I've just been going into debt? How? I thought I was making money. Oh, that negative 81 balance must have transferred down. So I've been paying that off, so it's a little bit lower if anything, but I was hoping I had a lot of money though. But I guess it makes sense that they wouldn't have a lot. Oh, here it is. So I do have reserves. So it's been going to reserve 24.34, and that's lower because I've been paying it off. I don't know why it's down here. I thought this just queues up stuff in my construction slot. Yeah. All it does is add things. What I really can spend the reserves on is weapons. I'm trying to negotiate a contract. I have to keep combating American influence. Did it even drop it? I already spent 200, right? Jeez. Monthly population plus 35%. That's a really good bonus. Now their strength has gone up 2% in the insurgency. has risen in Lao People's Party, Marxist-Leninist guerrilla movement. Will all of Indochina go red? That's what America was afraid of. Just when they started going to Vietnam was in the 50s. They're already at war. Looks like it's not them. Who's at war? It has to be them, right? Oh, it looks like they're at war with the Chinese. Oh. It's part of the battle to end that. Just buggy. Maybe they have access. Looks like the French have given away access to a lot of people. Free Albania National Committee. 1 year has passed. Well, half a year. That's a good time to call this recording quits. I just made this to show one person anyway. But Cold War mod's pretty interesting. A lot of mechanics you have to learn. More than... probably not the most I've had to learn in a Hearts of Iron 4 mod. But it's more than the average. It's close to like what you have to learn for Black Ice. It's definitely... it's probably the same level as TNO. I mean, it is... well, no, it's harder. TNO has the same policy screen, but this has, and GDP has a GDP thing, but this has a lot of other stuff like the United Nations and weapons of mass destruction. Just a lot going on. Alright, till next time.